right, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Parks Advisory Board meeting. Today is the after 12, it's 5:33. I welcome everyone, by the way, and I just wanted to make sure that we once more recognize Barbara's 7 years of great leadership, and want to make sure that we live up to her standards, continue our service here at the Parks Board. So thank you very much for your service. We'll call the meeting to order. The first item we have on here is the public comment for public hearing. I think we have a gentleman.
Yes.
As part of that hearing. So
Yes.
if you wanna-
Sure. My name. Merry Christmas.
That's good. Yeah, my name is Chad Bridges. I live in District 4. But I'm here as president of the Crime Victims Response Team, which is one of the other items on the agenda today. And if now's the right time to talk, I'll be glad to do it.
Yes,
All right. First, I have to say, I work the DA's office. I'm the chief of the Family Violence Division, and I can tell you that none of our meetings are as festive at the county as y'all's. But that's not the reason that I'm here. I'm here asking for a full waiver of the fees from Brazos River Park from the DA Ride for Survivors that we had September 4th. So let me kind of explain. The Fort Bend County Crime Victims Response Team is the coordinated group that we have for response to domestic violence and sexual assaults. And what we do most years, and we're having coming up as a DA fun run, this year we did something new. And we had a DA Ride for Survivors that started and ended at Brazos River Park. 2 days from now, on Thursday, from the results of that ride, we will have 17,000, maybe 17,500 that y'all agree to our ask, to distribute to nonprofits, local nonprofits, to help with domestic violence survivors getting emergency housing and food. During the pandemic, it has been a bad time for domestic violence, not just here in Fort Bend County, but everywhere. And the groups that will be putting in applications, that have put in applications, include Fort Bend Women's Center, Katy Christian Ministries, the Harry Center for Justice, Aid Victims of Domestic Abuse, and DIA. What we're asking for is this. We had a great time out there in Brazos River Park. It's a great facility. We had over 200 riders go out, go all the way down on the longest track that we had, all the way down to Rocheron and back. With the money that we raised, everything that's not covering overhead is going into these grants for these groups. So basically this is it. The $1,200 or so, and I think we've already gotten our deposit back, but the remaining part of it goes directly into the money that will wind up going to the Women's Center and to Katy Christian Ministries and DIA, these other groups. It's going to be part of the pot. We had a great time there. We want to come back. We would like to use this facility again because the people working with in your departments were great to work with. They were wonderful and very helpful. And we'd like to do it again, and we'd like to do it to be as effective as we can for these groups, for these local nonprofits, and get as much help as we can into the world of these victims to make it a safer place. That is my ask. Can I answer any questions for y'all?
Actually, the way we do it, we'll run through the presentation.
Okay.
So our staff
Y'all
can
tell
look
me
at
what
it,
you
and
want,
then,
and I'll
and then,
be right
and
here.
then the board can answer questions or ask questions at that time.
All right, thank you, Jeff.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And as a reminder, this item we'll be looking at in terms of consideration for exemption. That's on Roman numeral 5, letter B. We'll come to that at that point of time. So if you want to hang out for that, we may have some questions.
Sure.
Thank you. By the way. So the next item we have on here is orientation. We have Tricia York, Administrative Manager, presenting for the orientation portion.
Good evening, Parks Board, and thank you so much for taking the time to be here this evening. As the returning members know, each year we provide the board with an annual orientation as a way to provide an overview of our department as well as the board duties and responsibilities. So the first part of that presentation is the department overview. So, oh, put the mouse away. So without further ado, department overview. So the mission of our department is to create and maintain unparalleled recreational art and culture opportunities and unique high-quality parks and public spaces, enhancing our community with exceptional customer service. And we strive to have active, passive, multi-generational, and diverse programming for our residents and the surrounding communities. Our department is comprised of 6 divisions: administration, maintenance and development, T.E. Harmon Center, Imperial Park Recreation Center, and then everything else that falls under the umbrella of recreation, including aquatics and athletics and fitness and special events. We have 55 staff members, 30 full-time and 9 part-time and 16 seasonal. We have a total of 2,454 park acres that our wonderful maintenance crew oversees and maintains. We have 27 parks that are owned and maintained by the city, not including HOA parks, 15 neighborhood parks, 6 community parks, and 6 regional parks. And we have some wonderful special use facilities, including the Crown Festival Park, the Town Square Plaza, and the plaza adjacent to Smart Financial Center. This is kind of an overview, a nice visual of what we offer in our parks. We have 20+ miles of trails. We've got a BMX track, a swimming pool. We have 2 activity centers. We have 6 community centers, which are used not just for our fitness instructors, but they can be rented out by our residents and the community. We have 18 playgrounds, and we have over 79 sports fields and courts, which includes tennis courts, pickleball, volleyball, basketball, volleyball. Did I say that? Baseball. Softball, you name it. So we have and 1 cricket field as well. So we have quite. So we have 2 activity centers. It's the Imperial Park Recreation Center, and this is where the majority of our fitness and recreation programs are housed for youth and adults. And then for our senior adults 50 years and older, we have the T.E. Harmon Center, which reopened in May of this year, which was closed during the pandemic. So we have still a lot of class offerings. The special events division, our team, as you can see, does a phenomenal job with presentation. We offer several annual events throughout the year, as well as some series like the Food Truck Friday series. We just finished out the Bikes and Brews event, which Joe will touch upon later. And we've got the International Art and Kite Festival, Memorial Day ceremony, which of course is on Memorial Day, our Red, White, and Boom July 4th celebration, and our beloved tradition, the Christmas tree lighting. The special events team does special events all throughout the year, however, so they do our city's ribbon cuttings, the groundbreakings that a lot of our Parks Board members have attended, and any other special celebrations. So moving on to Parks Advisory Board, your purpose, duties, and responsibilities. The council vision for the Parks Board is for the Parks Board to provide input, feedback, and advice on projects and programs to enrich the visual and aesthetic environment of the city, and also to advise on other matters relating to long-term goals and objectives for parks, recreation, and cultural activities, streetscapes, and urban forestry programs, and to ensure an environment where all citizens can share and enjoy the full diversity and vitality of the city. Some of the duties of our Parks Board is to make recommendations to Parks and Recreation staff, City Council, and City Manager regarding all of the above, all that you see here, including the public art, as well as the Tree City program, which you'll be seeing more of later on. And additional Parks Board duties are to make recommendations to the city manager regarding establishment of any parks ordinances, to serve as an appeal board for departmental policies affecting the public, and as I said, serve as the city's tree advisory board. And you all should have your policies that are right in front of you so that you can make sure that you are fully fulfilling the Parks Board member obligations. So our customers, who are you all representing? Citizens, youth sports associations, community organizations and groups, ETJs or extraterritorial jurisdictions, visitors, guests, and tourists. So you are a sounding board of citizen needs and desires. Of course, we don't want to have any arguments with fellow citizens about programs or parks or why this is that way and that way is this way. So we avoid arguments, but always thank citizens for their comments. And we would like you to try and get specific information so that we can do our part in trying to fulfill their needs as best as can be. And of course, you can always refer citizens to call 311 or call our Parks and Recreation Department main line at 275-2825 or email us. Member guidelines. Be willing to invest time and attend the majority of meetings. Balance your special interests with those of the board. And we really don't need to go into this because y'all are such an awesome group, and you know that I know that you make sure that you have balanced your special interests with those of the board. Listen and withhold judgment until all facts are discussed, represent the board at various community functions, and seek to have a well-rounded interest in all areas, parks, arts, recreation, and culture. Member attendance. So our Parks Board members' commitment to the Parks Board meetings is essential to the Parks Board. There was actually a change because of the COVID pandemic and the Texas Open Meetings Act, which, as you all know, we had a lot of Zoom meetings over the last 18 months and slowly began to go back to in person. The Texas Open Meeting Act declares that we have to have a majority, a quorum, present in a single location. So that means at least 5 of our Parks Board members have to be in a single location. So that is why it is of the utmost importance that you let us know either way, just so that we can make sure that we do have a quorum. Even if you can't attend, if you can just let us know as soon as you can, it is most appreciated for our park staff. The meeting flow of these Parks Board meetings, we follow the Roberts Rules of Order, which Ho-Jin has displayed in a great manner. Aim for organized, well-run meetings, speak one at a time and listen to others, and avoid digressing into unrelated topics during agenda items. And post meetings, support the decisions and recommendations of your board and move forward with a unified voice. Like, I heard that Ho-Jin did not want to do that. Maybe not say that. Like, it's the recommendation of the board. So our Parks Board members for 21 and 22, we have one new Parks Board member. If y'all haven't met him yet, he is Gilbert Avila, and he's right there.
Hello.
So I think that this might be in order of who has been serving the longest. I'm not sure, but I know that Kelsey Lowe, Kelsey Johnson, and then Gilbert, those are the latter 3. So Kelsey, you can teach Gilbert the ropes, right? You got this by now.
She's already
You've been
started.
here 2 years.
I'll just follow her lead.
And then this is just a quick overview of our meetings. We always do meet the second Tuesday of each month unless there's a winter storm that comes up or a hurricane. But other than that, it's the second Tuesday of each month. So if you wanna-
Winter storm in Texas. Is that possible? Yes. Once a day.
Wasn't until last year.
Yeah, that's right.
So if y'all want to take a picture of that, or I can always send this to you afterwards, but since this is the start of the fiscal year, I just thought that it'd be nice to have that up. And of course, these are as items become necessary to speak about to the board. So sometimes we might not have a meeting. If we're trying to recover from the tree lighting, we might not have a December meeting, let y'all have your holiday, but just make sure that you check your emails daily, and we will have that. So with that, that concludes our orientation. Does anyone have any questions?
I guess the meeting's always in this room, is that right?
It's usually in this room. We were gonna have one because of just a kind of perfect storm, pun not intended, of meetings that were happening. So we were gonna have the Brazos room as an alternate location, but usually the Kane room is gonna be
Is
the
the one.
meeting place.
It's
Yeah.
not this elaborately.
Yeah, your expectations are
Sorry.
high. So you gotta lower
I feel
them.
underdressed.
We might have a welcome meeting for you, an official welcome, and then we'll have.
All right.
Yeah, the brass room is that far corner, correct?
Yes, it's right down the hall.
Yeah. that-
Yeah.
We're only at one time last year.
Okay.
If it's not in this building, we'll be very clear.
Yes, we'll absolutely be very
Okay.
clear.
We've had field trip meetings.
Yeah, we've had a
before.
few.
Oh, is that right? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
For like a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I missed the field trip.
Yeah, we'll have to
That
do
was
one
fun.
of those.
We should do some more.
Didn't we buzz around on a cart one time?
That ditch, what's it called? You remember?
Was it Ditch H?
Ditch
Yeah,
H.
that one that we need to name.
Yeah, we need to rename that.
Maybe when it gets a name, we'll go back there.
Yeah, we'll go back to it.
Thank you, Tricia.
All right,
Yeah,
thank y'all
thank
so
you.
much. Back to my note taking.
Next item we have on here is the fact finding and recommendations. The first item we have on the agenda is a consideration of action on a recommendation for submittal to the Tree City USA application to the city manager. I think this is every year we've been doing this,
Yes.
so
Mhm.
be presented by Mr. Henry. I apologize for butchering your last name. Maverick. The right-of-way service manager.
Okay, before you tonight, first I want to say, thank you for letting me be here to present this. This is an annual application that we applied for based on your approval. And it gives the city a recognition of being called Tree City USA, which is all the collaborative effort from all the departments working together to make the city look as good as it does. So that being said, the tree board responsibilities is, first of all, is participate in annual Arbor Day proclamation and activities, including city council proclamation, which is scheduled for November 2nd, 2021. Trees Across Sugar Land tree planting. This year, we're lucky enough to have an event which is scheduled for November 13th, which is a Saturday. This past year, I think it was delayed due to the COVID issues, but now we're back on track and we're able to do that. On top of that, with public awareness and education activities that are provided throughout the city. And at the end, approve a Tree City application renewals. Tree City USA since 2011, again, requirements to have a tree board, a tree care ordinance, which we have, a community forest program with an annual budget of at least $2 per capita, and an Arbor Day observance and proclamation, which we do have that plan. So the community forest program has at least $2 per capita to qualify to be a Tree City USA. This year, with all the different projects that we have put on and completed, we have actually came up to a $5.37 per capita, which is an improvement over the past years. You can see it's been up and down. All the way back into 2015, it was $4.86. So we have, it kind of moves up and down based on budget and based on the projects that we have that are out there that we can complete. So we have an Arbor Day proclamation and observance, which is scheduled for November 2nd, which is the council meeting. That is the official proclamation. And Trees Across Sugar Land, November 13th, which is the event. It's at the Brazos River Park this year, partnering with the Parks Department, KSLB, Public Works, to plant some trees. So next steps, we're asking for Parks Board approval. We have to have city manager signature on the application form, which is, this is the official signature page that we still need to get the signature on, which will happen after the November 2nd council meeting. And then we submit the application before the December 31st deadline. And with that, Public Works Department, Parks, recommends approval of the Tree City USA application. Any questions?
Yes, I have one. What type of tree is being planted?
All types of trees. William, do you know exactly? Is it usually oak
Yeah.
trees?
Last, 2 years ago before COVID, we planted 250, we get a grant. And then we work with Keep Sugarland Beautiful to get the volunteers, Vicky over there. And then Public Works comes out, and we all plant trees together, we teach. It's usually a bunch of high school kids, but it could be their parents and so, and we teach how to plant a tree. And we plant about a 5-gallon tree. This year it's 150 trees, and they're mostly just native hardwood trees,
Hardwood trees.
oaks and
Oaks, okay,
and cypress and some red maples and things like that.
okay.
So native hardwoods.
Because the neighborhood that I live at, near the aquatic center, at one time, I think the developers put some type of a pear type of tree, real weak tree.
From the spare trees.
Right, and it seems like every storm would come by and you'd have a
So
bunch
we
of
have a bunch
uprooted
of,
trees.
we have some Bradford pear trees. He's trying to get rid of them. I'm trying to get rid of them.
Right, So there's been some
The storms get rid of them.
right, nature,
It's codominant stems and it's just a bad characteristic of
Right.
those trees.
Right.
It was a good idea. It just, when they got older, those codominant stems came to light. So Henry and me, we worked to prune out those codominant stems on our native trees, and we work to plant trees that don't do that.
right,
Right.
okay,
And that's why you see so much bald cypresses and live oaks and cedar elms in our parks and the right of ways, because we know they work and they don't have a lot of codominant stem issues.
right,
Like Bradford pears do.
right, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
But 5-gallon trees, but other tree plantings, it's a reforestation is what we're doing. And it's easy enough for volunteers to plant, but they're usually no-mow areas. And when we plant trees in no areas, I know Henry will use 30, 45-gallon, we'll even spade in trees too. But 5-gallon trees, we like to tuck them in no-mow areas because
Right,
you can plant
the,
a lot of them quickly.
sure.
And then you're kind of just playing the odds game, how many can we get to survive? But when we start planting them in mowed areas, when we start including irrigation, we usually do bigger. Because their survival chances are higher if we irrigate them, and then if we put them in a mowed area, we can keep a better eye on them, so we want to plant a little bit bigger tree.
Right, okay,
And we'll have some bigger tree plantings throughout the year sometimes, depends on what budget and what we have going on, but almost every year we do the reforestation 5-gallon trees.
Okay.
140 this year, but we got up to 250, 300. Plus, Joe's done some way more than that, Joe. You've done.
Yeah, we've done some, but we used to do a lot of seedlings
right,
and you
really
plant a
small ones,
bunch of them.
right,
And over the years, they've grown.
They've
They're
rooted
pretty
and
good, but
taken
then the grants have come in and grants have gotten better and we've done some bigger trees. And so they're a little more substantial what they go in. So
what's the survival rate of what y'all plant? Let's say you plant.
That's a tough
that's a,
question.
yeah, that's a
80%,
hard
Depends
question.
on water.
It really
Depends on
depends
how
on
much
the year,
Year.
depends on the year, the location. Just,
Soil,
it's
just
it's
all
just a
sorts of
lot of,
things.
if we had a really high drought year, although one really horrible year we planted them, I was amazed how many of them survived.
Survived.
But, when you're going in and counting, planting that many, it's hard to keep track of.
We do add half a bag of mulch to each one of them to try to help
Mhm.
compete out the weeds and give them a little bit of basically the organic matter, and then pull the moisture in when it does rain. That helps.
And then one reason we do it in November, we used to do it in like January, February, and it
Yeah, the
didn't give them
water.
much
Or-
time to get rooted
Rooted.
before the heat kind of set in. So when we moved to November, seemed like our
Time
survival
of year is
survival
great.
rate
Was better.
really helped.
Time of year is very critical.
That makes sense.
November is the best time to plant trees.
How long have we been doing this for?
17, 18 years.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Tree City USA has only been going on since 2011, but the program's been going on for quite some time.
I have a comment.
Andy?
No, thank you. My wife's company and several companies always goes with these students. And they always get volunteers to go and plant all the time, always around Sugar Land area. And yeah, it's something that's always good because, being in the kind of landscape and architectural kind of environmental understanding and sensitivity, we always try to enforce that. My kids want to do that, so I'm all for this.
Sure.
Love it. Thanks.
Thank
Thanks for all you guys do.
Are we ready to make the motion? Because I'd like to make a motion if we're ready for that.
Yeah, I was gonna take an action for our consideration.
Okay, I'd like to make the motion that we approve the that you move forward with the application, because I love that we're a tree city.
Second?
A second.
Thank you.
say that Andy seconded it.
I second it.
That's fine.
Who was the
I'll do
fastest
something
draw?
else.
I
You
know.
didn't have one of those- you didn't have one of those buttons.
So all in favor?
My hands, I guess.
All right.
Right.
Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. The second item we have is back to the consideration for the, we'll go ahead and talk about this as part of this. So consideration for an action on the recommendation of an appeal for fee exemption for the use of city facilities from the Fort Bend County Crime Victims Response Teams to the city manager. Heather will be presenting, Recreation Manager. So she'll give a presentation on this, and if we have any questions, we'll have the director towards.
Good evening, everybody. We'll be obviously going over this fee exemption appeal. Just to kind of start off with, and we can do the questions like you mentioned, I kind of wanted to give everybody a little bit of background about the actual policy itself. Obviously, I'm sure you all know that all of our fees are adopted by city council through fee ordinance, so the Parks Department does not have the authority to waive those fees, which is why we're here now. Back in 2005, the Parks Board is actually the one that recommended establishing fee exemption policy. That went before council and then it was approved, and it's been in effect since January 2006. So we're roughly about 15 years of having this policy in place. Some of the criteria for the fee exemption, it's very black and white. To qualify for it, you have to basically be a 501(c)(3) exempt entity. The organization must reside in the corporate city limits of Sugar Land and or have a PO box within the corporate city limits. You have to demonstrate that you have at least 51% of the membership with that organization, that they actually reside in the city of Sugar Land corporate city limits as well. They have to be have a charitable purpose, and they have to demonstrate that the fundraiser is for the express benefit of Sugar Land residents, which is why, of course, we asked for that membership ratio to be pretty high. So obviously, like Mr. Chad mentioned, they did have their event at the Brazos River Park Overlook on September 4th. They did file the fee exemption paperwork, and we ended up reviewing it. Based off of the criteria that I did just show you previously, these are the reasons that we denied that fee exemption request. The organization's address is in Richmond. 3% of the members, as opposed to the 51%, are actual Sugar Land residents. And so therefore, again, the fundraiser, in our opinion, was not for the express benefit of just Sugar Land residents. It appeared to be more for Fort Bend County as a whole. Basically, for the appeal process, as Mr. Chad has done, so they did submit a letter to us giving the justification. These are just 3 of the bullets that we added from the letter, but I think you've obviously heard him speak this morning, or this just momentarily ago, about everything. But again, it was because of the sole purpose of what the event is and the fact that the funds would be able to help a lot of the domestic violence survivor or service providers. And so basically, based off of knowing what the criteria is, the fact that we denied it, we're basically coming before Parks Board for y'all to give a recommendation to the city manager on whether or not you would like to waive that fee or what you would like to do moving forward. And so now, if you have any questions for myself or Mr. Chad at this point, you can ask.
Any questions from the board?
Yes, I have one question. How much is the fee that we're talking about?
So the fee you might have, the deposit is what is put down, which again was refunded to you. The specific dollar amount of the fees I do not have in front of me. It's
about $1,200.
So
For the whole fee,
Of which half was
Okay.
funded.
Okay, so it was about 630, I think it was $635 was the cost of the rental.
And traditionally, that money is used to do any upkeep of the facility? Is that where the money's?
those are the hourly fees that we have for the rental.
Right.
They are broken down per hour, and they are established based off of doing benchmark and what the cost is eventually in the end.
The funds go back into the city's
General
general
fund.
Cities to
fund
do as needed.
to help, defer costs for all operations and maintenance and other functions of the city. It doesn't come directly back to the park necessarily. It kind of goes through
Sure,
the
back
city's
to
city's budgeting
Management,
process system. Yeah. And that's the same for all of our park rental fees.
So the letter was written and the Parks Department reviewed and provided an input in terms of the, I guess, in relation to the actual ordinance, correct?
The actual process is that they actually submit an application. So it has a lot of detailed information that you have to provide us. Once we get that application, we then review it. And based off of the criteria, we either approve it or deny it. After it was denied is then following the appeal process.
That's where we're.
You write the letter, which is, and now we're standing here before you to hear all the information and to decide what you'd like to do.
Questions, comments from anyone?
I just want to make clear, I want to get clear. So based upon the criteria that was established when was that?
So to actually do the event and to put down the deposit, it's basically a non-standard. They have to fill out a fee exemption application. So they apply for fee exemption status. And so we then look at that criteria based off of the application and let them know whether or not we'll be able to waive their fees for the event or whether they have to pay the full amount, which they did pay the full amount because we denied waiving the fees.
So my question is, when was that criteria established that we just compared that it was?
Back in this criteria's been the
2006.
same for 2006 for, yes, it's basically been the same 4 to 5.
So if we accept this and allow the appeal, does that mean that all future appeals will be based on a new criteria?
No, it'll be a one-off. It'll be, it potentially, we could be setting a precedent, right?
Precedents, right.
Potentially.
From my knowledge, we've only had 2 appeals in the 15 years. I don't know the specific outcomes of those, but I believe in research that we've only had 2 of this actual situation ever happen.
So just kind of recapping what you had said in your presentation in the beginning of the meeting, is that the money is for the Fort Bend County, not for the city of Sugar Land, correct?
Yes, it's for Fort Bend County, but it's all Fort Bend County, which includes Sugar Land, because I hate to tell you this, there are issues with domestic violence in
Yeah.
Sugar
Sure,
Land.
of course.
But the way that it works is it goes to these different agencies who cover the full of Fort Bend County. And basically every dollar that comes back to us, that y'all give back to us, goes to these agencies. Once we've covered our overhead, and right now it's looking like about 17,000, a little bit more depending on what y'all do. And it goes to those groups. So essentially, not to put too fine a point on it, y'all can keep this for the city, and that's within y'all's rules. And I understand that. I'm not here to do that. But on the other hand, everything you get back to us is going to wind up in the hands of somebody who's fleeing their abuser. If I can't tell you that every single one of them can be from Sugar Land, but they will all be within that criteria of people who are leaving an abusive relationship and need an emergency place to stay, need emergency food. And just to be clear, it is our hope, and I don't want to talk y'all out of doing something else, but we want to continue this relationship with the city of Sugar Land. We want to keep doing this because we think it's a really good event that helps a lot of people. A lot of the people who are writing said, they don't really have one of these for Sugar Land. There's one for Missouri City. There's a Brazos River bike rally, but y'all don't have anything here just for us in Sugar Land that comes out of this. And our hopes are, depending on how things go, to expand it. We think we can get more riders and make this something that's a really good event for Sugar Land and for Fort Bend County and for our domestic violence service providers.
Go ahead.
Okay, 2 things. I was going to ask you a question.
Sure.
Not to put exactly dollars and how can really help, but for like $600 something. I mean, how far can that go? I mean, like, I know every penny can probably help, but I was going to ask.
Right. How far does it go? Think about it in practical terms. Someone who needs a motel room for a night and can have some place to stay instead of having to make the hard decision. Because one of the other issues that we're facing is our shelters are packed, and it's not just here. It's in Harris County as well, and we all collaborate together to try to make space for people who need a safe place to be. But the $600, is that 2 nights and some food for, it's not every victim of domestic violence is not always female. It's the great majority, but for a woman and maybe her 2 or 3 kids to be able to make the choice to leave rather than to stay because they don't have any place to go.
So, question 2, you're saying like everyone like in Fort Bend, that's like a big group of people.
But it's
Now, within that, you have like percentage of certain people from each, person or each area to make the criteria. Now, is there something to do to kind of bring more interest in the grouping of Sugar Land or so for the next possibility, or maybe it could have been more presence? And I mean, not to say because it's only Sugar Land, it has to be here, but just like saying that more representation from each group or so.
we take the victims of domestic violence as we find them. They're calling in on hotlines. They're the people that are your first responders, your patrol officers are responding to on domestic violence calls. And we take them as we find them. We do the best with them as we can, whether they're from Sugar Land, whether they're from Stafford, whether they're from Missouri City. Well, except not the Harris County part of Missouri City, that's other folks. But we take them as they come in. And some of them come in this way through law enforcement. Some of them show up and calling the National Domestic Violence Hotline. And I will say I am impressed because, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and the color is purple. But having said that, it would be great if we could do something to help funnel a little bit more of this towards Sugar Land residents, but we can't really do that. All we can do is make y'all be the place that's doing the most for us by being people who are hosting this.
I mean, it sounds good. I mean, we want to be more aware of that kind of stuff because it's an issue. That I'm not talking about only like victims. I'm talking about like people who are taken forward just to help out. So I was gonna say proximity of people in Sugar Land that advocate to help out. So I didn't know if you have that number. So does it help you place a little better in standings? I don't know.
I can't give you a really good, clear answer on that. All I can say is when we do this, we had people from the Women's Center out there giving out information to folks. We have lots of things that we do to try to give people options so that the hard decision of do you stay in a dangerous situation because you have no other place to go. We're trying to minimize that. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But this certainly, I think, is something that does help, at least for some folks who are going to get out. And I know $600 isn't a huge amount in the grand scheme of the budgets for a lot of these agencies and for y'all. But for somebody who doesn't know whether they can leave or not, who doesn't know whether they can take their family someplace to be safe, or if they have to stay in a bad situation, it may make all the world of difference to them.
I have a few questions.
Sure.
First is, now the city requires at least 51%
Right.
of Sugar Land residents to participate. How many do y'all have in terms of the participation?
As far as the actual group, crime victims response team, it's not because it's a coordinated effort throughout the county. I live in District 4, and the addresses, because we're mostly a bunch of law enforcement folks, we put down the addresses for each agency. So except for me, because I don't live in Richmond, but the people who are listed, they're showing Sugar Land are actually Sugar Land police officers as members of the organization, and they are a partner in this. It's people from there, it's people from Stafford, it's people from the sheriff's office, it's people who show Richmond addresses because they work at the Women's Center and their corporate headquarters are on IDA in Richmond. I don't have an exact count of it, but I can tell you it's not 50% because it's widespread. It's a countywide effort.
Okay. Second question for Heather. You have mentioned that there's been at least 2 over the past so many years. There's been some exemptions for.
So again, I'm not aware of how they turned out. I just know of the fact that we've gone through an appeal process 2 different times in those 15 years. I'm not sure of how the outcome was or what the recommendation ended up being on those. I was just aware of the fact that we've had this actual process of someone coming, doing the letter and appealing to Parks Board twice.
Wow.
I did have one comment. I've done a lot of charity events over the past, and I feel like this is a gala or a big fundraiser. And there's always facility rentals and something you have to pay because Williams Crew is getting the grounds ready and bathrooms. And I feel like not paying this fee goes against what we're doing here. And then that's taking money away from us getting the facility ready for the event.
Can I respond?
Mhm.
So actually what we had is for bathrooms, we actually brought out porta potties. And yes, you may have, I'm not sure about other galas that are here, because the ones that I'm familiar with, Child Advocates Row at the Marriott, which is not a city, property. I don't know what the arrangement is for the Women's Center when they've had their events. I think they had one here, or they were supposed to have one here for their 30th anniversary in Sugar Land. I don't know if that was a city property. I can tell you that the city of Stafford, for the training that we do for probation officers and police officers and people like that, they comp the fee for the Stafford Center for us. All that they ask is that their cops get to go for free. It happens. I don't think, because we got all our deposit back, I would assume that means that we left the facility. This is Brazos River Park. This isn't something where, and I think that's because we picked up all of our trash and put stuff back the way that we found it. I don't know that there's a lot of outlay on that, but I'm not going to be the expert on that. So that's kind of my response to that, is that I don't know that we're taking a lot out of the pockets from parks from this for repairs or rentals or cleanup.
I think, if I may, I think Tracy, you bring up a very good point, because I was thinking about the same thing, because it does take time for park staff to be out in the field to prep for events such as this and others, of course. And there's some time to expend, which in turn that's the cost that the fees are trying to recoup. But at the same time, it's an organization that it's a well-to-do organization to go into root cause. I'm gonna ask a out of the box question. I know it's $635 that we're asking for as part of the fee as a compromise. Could we reduce it to some degree?
I just think,
Just a
I worry
question.
about the precedents that would set.
Right.
Again, these fees are set by policy by the council, and it's set annually by ordinance. So these are council set ordinances. So we as staff we do not have the authority to waive these. We have the policy that shows what groups qualify for the fee exemption. And when those come in, we review those, and many organizations do. So there's many organizations that are Sugar Land based that do get a fee exemption. But all that's set by policy and ordinance, and we don't have the authority to waive that, or we wouldn't have the authority to reduce it. So this recommendation goes, if it moves forward, it goes to the city manager, and then the decision is made at that level.
Right. But the fact is, it is the city ordinance. It's part of what Joe's stating, and that's, I'm only bringing it up because it's something that I'm sure somebody else has been thinking about in terms of the compromise to some degree. But yeah, it's an ordinance either one way or another. That's pretty much it. But it does cover the fees of what we do.
True, yeah, I understand, and you're right, it is an ordinance. However, it's an ordinance with a safety valve for y'all to make a recommendation. And as to the fees, as far as helping with the project, it was pretty much us. I don't think we had any interaction at the park with anyone from the Parks Department who came out. It was us setting up, us picking up, us cleaning up. And that was kind of it. If there's something else, some other involvement there, I mean, I could stand corrected, but I was there the whole time. There
I
was.
mean, since the deposit was returned, I would take it that we didn't find any issues out there. I mean, we do have weekend staff that goes out and picks up litter because of rentals, so that our facilities are attractive to people and clean. And so we have staff that goes out on the weekends to ensure that our rentals, go off as good as possible. A lot of times. And then we also have what's called Park Ambassador Program, which they also go out and try to assist with the rentals especially if some conflict comes up. And a lot of times that happens, not so much on a location like this, but a lot of times with our picnic pavilion rentals, if say some other group has already gone in there and they have to go in and assist and move them out and say, look, this is reserved for these folks. So we do have staff on the clock during the weekend times when the events go on, just so we do offer, I would say, a raised level of service to make sure that groups, when they come out, it's clean. Then we also kind of double check it afterwards to make sure it's clean, to make sure that the next user or visitor to the park has a good experience.
I would say that, Joe, we also expand on that. We also, I think we do a really good job Monday through Friday to make the parks really ready, show ready for the weekends. And that's why we're not having to put so much staff on the weekends. Because we're really working hard Monday through Friday, especially on Fridays, to get the plumbing repaired from the freeze, get the limbs down, widowmakers down from the hurricane that blew through. But then there's of course mowing and restroom cleaning, and then all the details that we do, playground inspections, Monday through Friday, so we don't have to be as urgently responding on the weekends.
Good point.
So just to kind of lay it out there, I'm gonna be looking for a motion to either to approve or deny this appeal. But as part of that, but I want, last question before we move on. So you mentioned that y'all are looking to potentially moving again for next year and maybe even for the future years after.
Yeah, it was a great experience working with the departments. They were great folks to deal with. I thought they were very helpful. And we would like to continue this going forward. And we have plans to do this again next year. We are even thinking about moving it up so it can be part of the qualifying series for the MS 150. And we think we can and make this something that's really a showcase for what we do through Seabird and for the city of Sugar Land. And that's where we are. Someone mentioned this is a one-off. We don't want it to be one-off. And if I left you with that impression, I wouldn't be being upfront with you guys. But I also want you to understand that what y'all do will be a recommendation. I don't want you to feel like if you don't do this, if you vote yes, it's not like you're breaking a city ordinance, you're making a recommendation. So ultimately, either the city manager or the city council will make a decision about what they want to do. And that's fine. And we'll live with it either way. I don't want to, because what I don't want to do is leave y'all with a bad feeling out of this, because we really want to continue on doing this. We think it has the capacity to do a lot of good for the community. So I will walk out of here whether y'all vote yes or no, and be fine and try to work out the best that we can. All we're here to do right now is to try to maximize what we're doing to get money to these crime victims. And I'll live with whatever you vote will be.
Thank you very much.
Well, I'd like to comment, because if my heart voted, I know which way I'd go, because my heart bleeds for those people dealing with domestic violence. However, I'm an artsy person, so I can go that way in terms of sensitivity. However, the city runs on numbers, and we have that criteria in place to serve the city of Sugar Land and the citizens. So I would like to see this particular event and the people that are involved in it be more for Sugar Land. And maybe you said something about moving something to Sugar Land or having a facility. So I'm going to, or there's something with you involving more Sugar Land citizens? You said
Never
something
know.
about that?
Actually, what our thought is to, as we make this a bigger event, which is what we hope,
Mhm.
it's more of a showcase for what we do that is part of what goes on with Sugar Land.
Okay.
Because what it was is that there was a comment, there were multiple comments that Missouri City has one of these, there's all sorts of others.
Right.
There's not one here from Sugar Land.
That's what I heard you say.
So,
Yes.
and that, I understand it's hard numbers. I get that.
Mhm.
But at the same time, penny wise, dollar foolish, is that this is something that really, the benefit that Sugar Land gets out of it may far exceed $600 in terms of stature for what we offer for citizens, in terms of stature for what the community is doing for this cause that your heart goes out to,
Mhm.
more than $600 worth.
It's a
All right.
tough
Can I- can I make a comment?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think, I know when I've ever rented a place, I do my due diligence to see what the requirements are.
Mhm.
And you did get your, I guess, the cleaning deposit back? Or it's-
Yes.
Security deposit.
Security
or
deposit.
it's the security deposit, you did get, I guess, half of the money back.
Yeah.
So I think maybe you missed something with the 51% requirement, or maybe it wasn't clear, or our contract with you, or.
No, I mean,
The due diligence, I'm not sure if that maybe kind of fell.
It's not so much a matter of that. There's a process for doing this.
Mhm.
And we were committed to doing this in the city of Sugar Land. We were committed to Bryce River Park. We thought it was a great location, and it is a great location for this. And it's been great to work with the parks. This is a process that's provided for in the city ordinances, where when the rules itself are such that even however well-meaning they are, sometimes there's a good reason not to follow them and make an exception. And if y'all feel like this is one of those things, it's part of the process. And if you don't, for whatever reason, then that's okay too.
Right.
So the bottom line is I put earlier, there's a concern, and I get that, about setting precedent for all this. But there's also should be, is this the benefit the city gets out of it, does it exceed $600? And that's kind of, and whether you, and please don't take it this way, please don't take it negatively, because we want to come back. And I don't want you to vote no, but even if you do, we're still going to want to come back. So I need you to understand that it's just that this is someplace we would not be diligent in what we're doing if we didn't come to you and say, this is $600 that can go to some family that needs a place to stay. If y'all can do it, great. And if you don't, I understand. I'm going to leave here thinking that the Parks Department is wonderful and that Sugar Land has a great park, and it will be okay. So that's where I'm at.
Well, as part of the Parks Board, we do, there are ordinances out there. And now whether or not we follow the hearts or stay with ordinance, I think that's the decision y'all would have to make individually. And I'm gonna go ahead and ask for a motion and for the recommendation for appeal for the fee exemption for the use of the city facilities. So can I get a motion? And we'll ask for the basically, I'll ask for the motion and I'll also ask for all in favor and all against.
A motion in favor of the fee exemption.
Yeah. You want to give me a motion for against a motion in favor of the fee exemption? Or motion to stay with the recommendations from the staff member to against?
So charge, no charge.
Mhm. Who's gonna do it?
Who's gonna be the bad guy?
Well, wait, to say charge,
No,
just to say for.
I need a motion one way or another.
Okay.
Who's been here the longest?
I'll say motion to deny.
Okay, all in favor?
Can we second it?
Oh, I'm sorry, one
Can
second.
we second?
Yeah,
I'll
we second. Okay, all in favor?
Yeah.
I think that's an unanimous decision. So the decision is to deny the actual appeal for the exemption.
Okay.
I think this, if I may say this, I think the decision is purely based on the ordinance that we are strictly are to follow. But I think it's a great organization, a great cause that y'all are doing. In fact, if I'd have known about it, and it becomes a MS-150 cycling event, I'd be one of the first ones there.
Right.
But I think as the event grows, I think y'all gonna make extraordinary amount of money in terms of getting that to the good cause that y'all are providing.
Right, I'm sure there are donors that would be glad to fork over. I write you a check for $600.
Yeah, because now I want to go and donate.
Leave me a card, we'll come back to you. We are looking for sponsors.
Right.
I told you, I'm not gonna get upset. I'm not gonna guilt you about it. I'm not here to do that. So we're gonna want to come back to Brazos River Park. And in fact, we're going to want to utilize it again, and we're going to want to do some extra stuff to bring some more value, bring more people out to the event. That will be something that will be of benefit to Sugar Land. It's something they're gonna want to be involved with. But at the same time, I hope you all understand and appreciate if there's a way to help these victims, any loose ends that we can do. we're gonna do.
Thank
We
you.
certainly will.
Thank you so much. I must say, that was one of the hardest.
That was-
I know.
That's the hardest thing we've ever,
I feel like a bad guy.
it's the hardest thing we've ever had to do.
All right, y'all have a good
Thank
evening.
you, thank you so
Chad.
much.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
That was hard.
That was hard.
That's way
The next
different.
item, next item we have on the agenda is the workshop. So it's a review of and discussion of the Parks, Recreation and Open Space Master Plan Annual Update. Pen Lane will be presenting Parks Development Manager. Oh, man.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, thank you.
You're taking it.
Yeah, sorry. picking up.
I need to get a drink.
I did too. I'm gonna start stress eating in a minute.
It's gonna seem worse.
I didn't know which way this would go.
Sorry, Peggy.
Sorry.
Good evening.
Y'all earn your money.
Breath, breath.
Today, I'm going to give you an overview of our, the Parks Master Plan progress. Honestly, a lot of items you have already reviewed or we updated over the course of the year, so relax.
You don't have to vote on anything.
Where's the vodka?
You're welcome to say, but I'm just saying.
Oh.
Yeah.
So the City of Sugar Land developments are guided by comprehensive plan. Under the comprehensive plan, we have 8 master plans that different departments oversee and making sure we are all kind of meeting the goals from the comprehensive plan. Under the comprehensive plan, the areas are land use, mobility, water, wastewater, drainage, municipal facilities, and the parks, recreation and open space. Every year, the planning department works with us, each owning department, to have a review of what things we have achieved in the last fiscal year and what we are going to prioritize for the next fiscal year or beyond. So this is a very good opportunity for everybody to kind of review the progress we make and making sure we are on the right direction of achieving the city's goals. The Parks Master Plan progress started back in 2016. The Parks Board was the steering committee. Many of you were heavily involved in the process. You may remember those nights, and we had rounds and many rounds of discussions, workshops, and review comments. And then the plan was adopted in 2018. During the process, there were more than 70 action items were recommended and prioritized. The project was actually very well done, and then it won the HGAC Honor Award for the planning category. So all the recommendations are serving 5 major goals from defined by the comprehensive plan. We need to build destination activity center for Sugar Land. We need to provide outstanding cultural arts, educational and recreational opportunities. We need to continue building the beautiful and environmentally responsible community, and we need to continue enhance our neighborhoods. So those are the 5 main goals. This slide is a quick overview of the projects we have done in the last fiscal year. I separate them in the 5 different categories I just mentioned. Again, we have all the items either updated in the previous PARCS board presentation or in your monthly director's report. I'm just going to point out a few items as examples. For example, under the Destination Activity Center, we constantly evaluate our facilities deficiency. So based on this year, based on the evaluation, we have did a major rehab at the Memorial Park. We have the parks entry, the road to the dog park, the parking lot, the decomposed granite trail, and also the playground. This is obviously a very heavily used park. We also worked under this item. We also worked with Public Works and engineering department to finish the pedestrian signage and wayfinding system. The goal is to have a unified pedestrian signage across the city, either in the right of way or parks. Another one, I think an example is the partner with volunteers to enhance sustainability in parks and open space. We constantly work with many high school volunteers or other Serve Sugar Land volunteers to do the park cleanup, maintain the butterfly garden, plant more trees or build benches. The Eagle Scouts kind of help build the benches in the park. I think Henry just mentioned about the tree planting. We constantly do that, and then parks and open space is a wonderful place to plant plant trees. Most recently, we worked with Keep Sugar Land to get the pollinator medal grant to be able to cast about 100 pounds of wildflower seeds at the Brazil Park and the new road. And also we got the grant from Apache tree grant for 140 trees that will happen on November 13th. So those, oh, by the way, also because of all the effort, we were able to participate in the Mayor's Monarch pledge with the National Wildlife Foundation. And we were able to do that, and then we joined the program. And there are action items that we need to follow every year and update on our website. So that's great progress in terms of the sustainability this year. I'm not going to go through all the other elements because it's going to take a long time, but I'm going to, in the next few slides, I'm going to mention a few projects, just run through very quickly. Brazil Park. We just talked about it, and it's a great park, and we continue enhancing it. This year, we were able to construct the 1 mile road between the Brazil Park and the Memorial Park. This allows the people to get to the park much more easily, and then to enjoy the park and hold more events. Also, beside this 1 mile road, we also have this Culinary trail, this concrete trail allows us to have a continuous of 11.4 miles of trails among Memorial Park, Brazil Park, and the Kalang Festival Park. So it's a great facility for people to walk, to jog, and also bike. We updated you a few months ago. We also completed the Brazil Park phase 3 conceptual design in-house. We are going to provide a pavilion, a playground, trails, irrigation, and the planting. This project, all the effort is because the Brews River Park is a regional park, and making it a better place will help us to achieve the goal to make Sugarland activity destination center. Moving on, during the priority workshop, if you remember, the public-private partnership was rated very high in the priorities. So we worked really, this year, and in the previous years, we wanted to be creative, and we collaborated with Sugarland Legacy Foundation, the Economic Development Department to be creative to find the funding. One project is the Eagle Plaza Phase 2. William is the project manager on that. This summer we finished the construction documentation and the project bidding. Majority of the funding comes from the donations through the Sugarland Legacy Foundation. Right now, the funding can only cover the gathering plaza and the concrete seat walls. I think the Sugarland Legacy Foundation is continue trying to fundraise to be able to cover the trees and irrigation. The construction kicks off this month. Also, our senior center members, the Creamers, donated another $30,000 through Sugarland Legacy Foundation to improve the patio of the senior center. You can see the pictures of what they look like. They basically, our staff, Heather is our creative designer. They did in-house, the design in-house. And then you see this is sort of a sitting area and the table and chairs and some game elements. And then here you have the automatic screen. They can go up and down. So basically the originally concrete space is transformed to a very lovely outdoor patio for the seniors to enjoy. Oh, this. The next one we also updated you before. This is also working with the Sugarland Legacy Foundation and the Woody Williams Foundation. We have completed the conceptual design of this Gold Star Families Memorial Monument. It's going to be located at Memorial Park as well. Right now, MOU was signed so that between the City of Sugarland, Sugarland Legacy Foundation, and the Woody Williams Foundation. So those two foundations are working to fundraise the money to cover the cost of the plaza. Also, we have been working on the Culinary Park improvements. The phase two. Phase 2 includes the 1.2 miles of trails and more than 70 parking spaces. Right now, we are near the end of the schematic design. The goal is to complete the construction documentation at the earlier next year so that we can start bidding process. Also, the Conservancy, Culinary Park Conservancy is also working very hard to fundraise for the phase 3, which is nature play nature exploration area. I cannot say play. Nature exploration area. For kids and families to enjoy the passive outdoor space. And during the master plan process, we are also asked to provide more adult sports facilities. And then that will help us to achieve the goals of providing outstanding recreational opportunities for the residents, and also help Sugarland to be a great activity destination center. This one is, we have done the conceptual design for the pump track at the Crown Festival site. We also studied relocating the skate park to be near the pump track. So it has this synergy of having the bikes and skaters to utilize the Crown Festival Park. Then at the same time, we look into retrofitting the existing skate park to be a pickleball court. So all the three facilities will have the ability to host tournaments. Mountain bike trails. We have been, I know William and Jorge have been working very hard with the Fort Bend Mountain Bike Association to constantly improve the mountain bike trails. Most recently, we added 1.9 miles of the mountain bike trails along at Brews Park. And then I believe the next stage is to make it more loops. So that's a great achievement at the Brews Park. We at the master plan, we are also committed to provide, working with the cultural arts manager, we need to provide outstanding art for the city as well. We constantly work with the economic development implementing art in our parks. So this project is the mental health project, mural art. We assisted to install 3 mural arts panels in the parks. They all have names. This is the bird at the Culinary Park. This is the butterflies at the Brews Park, at the Memorial Park, and this is the wildflowers at the Brews Park. The theme of each mural art was inspired by the specific site context of the park, and also every art has a QR code sign next to it. This sign will lead you to the city's mental health website, which has many links, helpful resources and links for mental health. In the last 1 to 2 years, having community events has been very challenging because of the social distancing, but our event staff has been very creative, and they always think out of the box. For example, they transformed the Christmas tree lighting to be a 12-day continuous events. Every night has different activities, so the visitors can spread out. And also the same thing. The art and the International Art and Kite Festival, the Memorial Day ceremony, they're all kind of tailored to the COVID situation so that people can enjoy, have fun, and also feel safe. Those are some more pictures about additional smaller events. The Food Truck Fridays at the Memorial Park, the movies at Oyster Creek Park, and we also have Bikes and Brews at Brews Park. So lots of small series, but really fun to participate. All right, this is my last slide. We also keep tracking our park users, monitor the park activities. Based on the data, the Eldridge Park and the Memorial Park continue to be the most popular parks in the city. And last year, each of these two parks had more than 360,000 visits. And also, I want to pick out the Culinary Park visits more than doubled from 4 years ago. Overall, the park visits have, from 4 years ago, overall, our park visits increased by 27%. And we are very happy that our parks are serving more and more people, provide them great outdoor environment, and this helps with their mental and physical health. It also increase their quality of life. At the same time, we keep monitoring. We want to make sure we delegate enough resources to keep the standard, and we look forward to the next year to improve our parks even more. That's the end of my presentation, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions?
How do you determine this monitoring? You have someone out there with a.
That's old school. We actually, the city has a platform called the Placer.ai. It's a very complicated platform that they track like different factors, including people's cell phone usage and also different statistics methods to come up with the.
So they're just
the
statistical
usage.
numbers. It's not a one-to-one. One person comes in for 5 minutes, that counts as a person, or one person comes in for 5 hours.
Yeah,
That's
that
one
one
visit,
person
or-
comes in for 5 minutes or 5 hours, that counts as a visit. That counts as a visit, and also the data will show, I mean, that probably deserve another presentation, but
Right.
the data.
I'm an
actually
engineer,
show-
so that's what caught my
Yeah,
eye.
very good question. They actually show how long people stay in each park and at different times.
Okay.
It's a very complicated data. They claim their data is 95% accurate.
Oh, okay.
I believe there's a lot of statistics and science
Sure,
behind it.
right.
Data science, data analysis behind it.
And the city uses this not only for parks, but also like, you know, retail areas and other areas of the city to be able to
Okay,
track,
so it's a-
to track that. like, the
Development
use
there.
there.
But years prior, though, we didn't have a good method, and we were getting traffic to set up the traffic counters.
At the
on the
parking
entrance
lot.
to the
Oh, yeah, right,
parks.
on those-
And we'd count how many people came in and left, and the number was about the same coming in and leaving, right? And then, but to try to get an average, and then we try to assume like 2.5 people per car, but we were doing a lot of assumptions.
Right.
And the traffic would only let us use it like two weeks.
Oh, so
And
you
there was
get,
big-
You got a really small window.
right,
It's
get on a
window.
Monday, you get little traffic.
If it's
Saturday.
raining all week, then
Or-
the number would be way skewed.
Yeah.
We were just like praying for good weather. So the traffic, they were really good about doing it for us and giving us the data, but I don't think it was very accurate. It was an estimate.
Right.
But now we're a little closer.
Okay, that's what I was trying to figure out. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Phelan.
Thank you.
Appreciate your
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, next item we have.
If I have
Thanks,
to
Adam.
leave early, is that gonna be a problem? Do we have to vote on anything?
No more voting items.
Okay.
This is, I'm gonna make this,
All right.
y'all been,
I have to go pick up my daughter. from
y'all been
camp.
very good students tonight, so you're gonna get out of class pretty early, so I'm gonna be done with this pretty
My
quick.
stomach is growling.
The last item we
Why
have
don't
on
you eat
is the
now?
record
No,
report.
no, I'm gonna wait.
Don't hear you on the thing.
Tracy, if you need to speak.
Is that okay?
I'm not sure what our presentation did here, but
We're good.
just real quick, on the murals, on the art murals, I just wanted to point out that William and his staff actually built the frame for the murals to go onto, and then they met the artist. Her name's Krista Birnbaum. She met with our guys out on staff, and William there and his maintenance guys helped install the murals at the site. So they got a hand in putting those up. And they did a really great job of getting them they came in like 4 sections. So you go out there and look at it and you can't really tell, but they're in 4 sections out there. So, and the artist was on site and she did touch up work after they were already installed over the screw holes and everything. So, and then this you can see is where the mural is and then the QR code in relation to that. And that's by each one of those. Okay, so, and Bunlin touched on these in events. I'll just keep it really brief. We had a family game night, was one of our food truck events. It was very well attended. We held it on the same night that we held the unveiling of the first art mural there at Brazos River Park. It was a kind of a come and go event. First time we've tried it. This was sort of in conjunction with a ping pong table that has gone in at Memorial Park. It was a trial project that we've started here in the city. We only have one right now. We'll see how it goes, and there may be more in the future in certain locations. But it was pretty well attended for a first time event, and it was a really nice night out at the park. The Bikes and Brews events, we had 3 of those in September 2nd, 16th, and 30th. This was held at Brazos River Park. And these turned out to be very, very successful, kind of in conjunction with the Fort Bend Mountain Biking Association. They came out there. We had a number of vendors come out. 3 bike shops here in Sugar Land, Society Cycles, Sugar Cycles, and I think I'm missing one other handlebar cycle, maybe I believe was there. And then we also had HGAC, their Commute Solutions. People were out, as well as some other vendors we had. Again, we had St. Arnold's as the beer sponsor for the event. And then we had a number of food trucks, various food trucks at each event. Very well attended. We hope to be able to hold those again in the future. We've got a new event. We're going to start this year at Thanksgiving. You know, we've typically held a haunted house at the Imperial Park Recreation Center. Heather and her staff do a fantastic job of converting our meeting space there into a maze of a haunted house. And it starts out as sort of geared towards kind of the younger kids. It's still pretty scary enough, but not super scary. And then if you're okay there, you go into the more scary part, and they did a super job of it. But with COVID, there's been concern about, it's pretty tight quarters and they have to run quite a few people through there. So the concern was, and we didn't do anything, we didn't do it last year. This year, when the planning was getting ready to start, you know, the spike with the Delta variant was kind of scaring everybody. Now it's kind of subsided, but it takes them, gosh, y'all spend weeks getting it ready to go. So they've already started planning the trunk or treat. So this is kind of a new concept we're going to try this year, just so people can stay outside and be a little bit safer. And then kids will go around to various vehicles and trick or treat at those locations. Anything else to add on that, Heather?
No, we're trying to do a big photo opportunity inside, so that has turned into a small hallway / we have to throw in the haunted house somewhat as an aspect of the scare, so families can go in one at a time and have their photo opportunity and we scare at the same time. So
A mini haunted house.
We're
A
adding
mini
that small
oh,
little
that's good.
element 'cause we just
I
have
love
to,
it.
or it's not Halloween.
That's okay. And then tree lighting will go on in Town Square, and we will be back to our normal tree lighting ceremony this year. Will be the week after Thanksgiving there at Town Square. And then the senior holiday gala, many years we've held it at the Marriott. We surveyed our seniors that are members of the Harmon Center this year about would they feel comfortable with that. The reaction we got was pretty mixed. A lot of people were saying they didn't feel comfortable going into that environment. So what we're going to do is host more of a kind of a cocktail kind of party at the TE Harmon Center. People can get dressed up, come and dance. It's very much the same sort of things that went on at the gala at the Marriott, but it's kind of more of a setup like a cocktail party kind of a thing. And we've never served drinks at the senior center before. So this, and they've often asked for it. The seniors have asked for it. They constantly ask Heather for it and their staff. And so we said, okay, we don't serve them. We get bartenders and everybody to serve it, do it safe and everything. So that's our plan for this year, to see how it goes. It'll have all the normal elements, but people can come, they can kind of come and go. They can stay a little more distanced if they feel more comfortable with that, doing it that way. And then with that, I'd be happy to answer any other questions about things that are going on, because I know y'all put in a lot of time here tonight, so I'll keep that pretty short.
All good.
Any questions or comments?
No, it's all good.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Joe.
All right, I guess we're at the conclusion of our meeting. I'll take a motion for adjournment.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Thank you.
Second.
Andy, thank you very much. We have adjourned. Thank you very much.
All right.
Okay.
All right, push off.